Lily's dishes are delicious. You can have a cake and play it too. If your opponent gives you checkmate, just eat your way out. I have to say, this was the sweetest chess game I ever played. When I saw this silicone mold, I knew I have to have it. And I tried to make the chess pieces initially with melted chocolate, but that didn't work for me. Then I decided to make them with modeling chocolate. And here is what you need for the modeling chocolate. You need 16 ounces of chocolate, half a cup of corn syrup, 2 measuring cups, glass measuring cups, and a spatula. Chop the chocolate in small pieces, place it in a measuring cup, and then microwave it at 30-second intervals. Take it out, mix it up, microwave it again until it's melted. Then warm up the corn syrup, the half a cup of corn syrup, and then mix the two. You want the corn syrup to be warm, otherwise you're going to shock the chocolate. When you combine the two, don't overmix it. You only need to mix it until you notice that the corn syrup is incorporated. I had to mix it about 25 times until I noticed that everything is nicely mixed, nicely combined. Then what I did, I took a saran wrap, I placed the modeling chocolate on the saran wrap and put it on the counter and allow it to cool. I placed it on the granite counters, which are cold, and I let it sit there. In about half a day it became hardened, and then by that time I was able to work with it. Take a small piece, knead it between your fingers until it's soft, and then go ahead and fill up those spaces there. One thing you want to make sure is that you should not overfill those spaces. You're better off having less than more chocolate. If you're overfilling it, when it comes to attaching the two sides, the two pieces together, you won't be able to. So you're better off having a little bit less. And then do the same thing with the other side, and then repeat the whole process. Whatever you have done with the dark chocolate, you have to do with the white chocolate as well. The chocolate pieces hardened up, and now I can take them out of the mold. And I like the silicone mold much better than the plastic molds that are out there, because with the silicone mold I can stretch it a little bit and then my chocolate piece just pops out. When I tried to make these pieces with the melted chocolate, at this stage they would all break. Whenever I tried to take them out, they would just break to pieces. So I found that modeling chocolate is much more forgiving. And now I have to assemble these two sides. So what I'm doing, I'm taking one piece. With the toothpick, I'm going to put a little bit water on the center and then attach the two pieces. And that water will act as the glue. Just gently align them and then push them together and then they stick. And continue this with all the pieces until you got all of them. And then whatever I've done with the dark chocolate, I have to do the exact same thing with the white chocolate. And the light that you see there, it's my headlight. It came in very handy for this part. And now let's make the cake. I'm sifting here 14 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. And I'm going to make two 9x13 cake layers. So flour is sifted. Then I'm going to take 14 eggs, separate the eggs, put the egg whites into the mixing bowl here, and then the egg yolks in a separate dish. The eggs must be at room temperature. Put the whisk attachment on, and then also the shield, and beat those eggs until they become a little bit frothy. At that time, place 1/4 of a teaspoon of cream of tartar. The cream of tartar will help stabilize the eggs. And continue beating them. Then gradually add 14 tablespoons of granulated sugar and continue whisking them until they form hard peaks. I wish I used the other mixer, which has a bigger capacity, has a bigger bowl, but now I have to make do with what I have. So I took the shield off to have a little bit of room for those egg whites, and once they are done, then I'm going to slowly add the egg yolks. Once I put the egg yolks in, I have to go on a low speed and then add them one by one And then don't forget to stop and scrape the bowl. And once everything is incorporated, then take the mixing bowl off the mixer and add the flour. Add half of the flour and gently mix it. You don't want to overmix the batter at this stage. You don't want to deflate those eggs. So just gently with the spatula fold in the flour, and then once it's folded, fold the other half as well. Then divide the batter into 2 equal amounts into those baking pans and bake it at 325 for about 22 minutes. When it's done, take it out of the oven and allow it to cool in the baking pan for about 10 minutes. Then place it on the rack and allow it to cool completely. For the cream, I'm using the equivalent of 3 sticks of butter. I'm cutting the butter in small pieces, place it in the mixing bowl, and beat it for about 5 minutes until it softens. The butter is at room temperature, and I'm using the paddle attachment for this part. I'm going to cream the butter for about 5 minutes, but stop occasionally and scrape the bowl. When the butter has creamed a little bit, has changed in color, as you can see, becomes lighter, then add half a cup of cocoa powder, 2 teaspoons of instant coffee, and 1 tablespoon vanilla. Mix it. Again, stop and scrape the bowl, and then add 2 pounds of powdered sugar. Put the shield on, mix it for a few seconds, then add 10 tablespoons of heavy cream. Put the shield on, mix it, then stop and scrape, then continue mixing it until you end up with this beautiful, yummy tasting chocolate cream. My cake layers are rectangle in shape. Now I have to measure them and cut them in 2 perfect squares, 22 by 22 centimeters. I'm transferring the cake layer on the cake board, and then the chocolate cream that I just made, I'm going to use as a filling and also for the exterior of the cake. When I'm done covering the cake in the cream, I'm going to place it in the freezer until I'm ready to decorate it. While the cake is in the freezer, I'm going to knead the modeling chocolate a little bit. Then I'm using the dough roller, stretch it in a thin layer, and then cut it in about 2.5 by 2.5 centimeter squares. And then once I'm done with the brown modeling chocolate, I have to do the same thing with the white one. I left my cake in the freezer for a couple of hours just to be sure that everything is nicely frozen. Then I'm taking it out and I'm placing those squares in a pattern that resembles a chessboard. It's looking very pretty. It's finally coming together. And once the pieces are on it, then I can gently push them nicely, tightly together, and then I will have a little bit space around them. And that space I'm going to cover with some modeling chocolate just to look like a real chessboard that has a border around it. Place all 4 borders and gently push them into the checker square there. No spaces should be left in between. And then once I'm done with this part, I'm left with one more thing to do. I have to take some white modeling chocolate, roll it up into this thin rope-like looking structure, then put it around the midsection of the cake, just to give the illusion that my cake is a foldable box, just like a real checkerboard box. I am finally done. What I have to do now is put those pieces together, and then I'm ready for a match. You wanna join me? Well, I have to say, it was a lot of fun making it. If you don't have time to make this in one day, make the pieces the day before. Work on the modeling chocolate, do whatever you can do the day before, and then just make the cake in the last day, decorate it, and then just put the pieces together. And now it's time to cut this beautiful cake and taste it. Join me. Voila, here is my cake. Love my chocolate and love my cake. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.